We're counting down the top 10 forgotten movies from the 1980s that still hold up today. From punk-fueled oddities and unsung comedy gems to martial arts showdowns and risk-it-all stunts, each film on this list has been overlooked, outshined, or simply lost in the VHS shuffle, yet somehow remains surprisingly watchable decades later. Our ranking blends craft, cultural impact, and sheer staying power across action, comedy, and fantasy. Which under-the-radar classic claims the number one spot? Let's kick off our countdown with number 10, a bizarre genre mashup that proves even the quirkiest relics can outlast their obscurity. In the 10th place, Dudes 1987 rolls out a punk western fever dream that could only have sprung from the mind of Penelope Spheeris. 3 New York punks, a battered VW Beetle, and a detour into the Arizona desert. What starts as a road trip quickly morphs into a showdown straight out of a spaghetti western, but with mohawks and Doc Martens. Spheeris, already legendary for capturing the raw energy of the music scene and the decline of Western civilization, brings that same street-level authenticity here. The cast, John Cryer, Daniel Roebuck, and Flea, lend genuine punk flavor, while the city-to-desert visuals keep the whole thing grounded in 80s counterculture grit. Dudes barely registered at the box office thanks to a blink-and-miss release, but its oddball genre blend and lived-in style have earned it a midnight movie following. It's weird, it's scrappy, and decades later, its offbeat spirit still feels surprisingly fresh. Number 9, Easy Money cashes in on Rodney Dangerfield's signature stand-up style, but this time with a screenplay he helped write himself. The jokes come rapid fire, blue-collar zingers, family feuds, and that classic self-deprecating wit Dangerfield fans know by heart. Monty Capuletti, a hard-luck everyman, suddenly stands to inherit a fortune if he can clean up his act. The plot's just a frame for Dangerfield's relentless punchlines, many lifted straight from his own stage routines. Released in a year crowded with comedy heavyweights, Easy Money pulled a solid $29 million at the box office, outpacing expectations for a film built around one comic's persona. Joe Pesci's sidekick energy adds extra bite, but it's Dangerfield's timing that keeps the laughs landing. Even now, the one-liners haven't lost their sting. In 8th place, Bad Boys throws Sean Penn into the heart of a juvenile detention center, stripping away the gloss of 1980s teen movies for something raw and relentless. The violence is not stylized, it's institutional, pulsing through every corridor and cell block. Penn's performance, all clenched fists and thousand-yard stares, marked the moment critics stopped calling him a James Dean knockoff and started taking him seriously. Every fight, every stare-down is performed by the actors themselves. No stunt doubles, no escape from the bruises. Released in a year packed with flashy escapism, Bad Boys got lost in the shuffle, but its unflinching realism and Penn's breakout turn still hit like a punch to the gut. Number 7. King Solomon's Mines chases adventure across the sweeping savannas of Zimbabwe, trading Hollywood backlots for real African vistas. Cannon Films' rapid-fire production style meant sets were practical, stunts were physical, and the schedule was relentless, sometimes at the expense of ethics, as later critics would note. Richard Chamberlain and Sharon Stone dodge traps and treasure hunters, but it's the vast, sun-bleached landscapes that steal the show, giving the film a scope most 80s adventures could only fake. While the Indiana Jones shadow and production controversies have kept it off nostalgia lists, the sheer spectacle and on-location energy still make it a wild ride decades later. Number 6. American Ninja throws down a flurry of roundhouse kicks and full-contact brawls that set it apart from the VHS karate crowd. Choreographer Mike Stone drilled the cast in real martial arts, turning even non-fighters like Michael Dudikoff into convincing action leads. Actors performed their own flips, falls, pull-alls, and weapon blocks. No cutaways to stunt doubles, just bruises and sweat caught on camera. The result is a kind of raw, kinetic authenticity that modern wire few can't fake. Shot on a shoestring, American Ninja became a cult hit by proving that hand-to-hand grit and boot camp training could outlast big budgets. Even now, its battered choreography and underdog spirit keep the adrenaline pumping. Number 5. Tightrope drags Clint Eastwood into the shadowy streets of New Orleans, swapping cowboy bravado for rain-slicked noir and a hero who's just as haunted as the city itself. The suspense here isn't just in the hunt for a killer, it's in the way every alley, every flicker of neon feels loaded with danger. Practical squibs pop like real gunfire, leaving bruises and blood that don't fade between scenes. Eastwood's detective is no action god. He's battered, flawed, and visibly shaken by the violence he's drawn into. Director Richard Tuggle keeps the camera close, letting the city's grit seep into every frame. Critics at the time nodded to its restraint, and the choreography of those old-school effects still lands with a punch. Tightrope's moody realism and tactile suspense hold up, especially in an era now crowded with digital gloss. Number 4. Blue Thunder barrels through the Los Angeles skyline with a kind of reckless bravado you just don't see anymore. Real helicopters, modified gazelles, not models or CGI, dive under bridges, skim rooftops, and thread through city canyons at speeds that left insurance agents sweating. The aerial stunts were so risky, pilots logged every near miss, and the crew built gimbal-mounted cockpits to capture actors' reactions as the city blurred past. Explosions and squibs were rigged right onto the choppers, with pyrotechnics triggered mid-flight, so every blast and bullet feels dangerously close. Stories from set read like a daredevil's diary: engine malfunctions, wind shears, and last-second course corrections. Blue Thunder's cult following comes from this raw, practical spectacle. No computer can match the tension of a real helicopter banking under a freeway overpass. Long before Top Gun made fighter jets cool, Blue Thunder proved that low-altitude danger never goes out of style. Coming to the top 3, Clash of the Titans stands as a monument to handcrafted fantasy powered by Ray Harryhausen's stop-motion wizardry. Every mythic beast, Medusa, Pegasus, the Kraken, was brought to life through dynamation, a process that fused foam latex models with live-action footage using rear projection and split-screen matting. The Medusa sequence alone demanded weeks of frame-by-frame animation, each serpent in her hair articulated by hand, every shadow cast to match the torch-lit gloom. These weren't just props, they were sculptures with metal armatures, engineered for lifelike movement under Harryhausen's meticulous touch. Actors performed to empty spaces, trusting marks and storyboards, their reactions later stitched together with monsters that felt both tangible and uncanny. Released in a summer dominated by E.T., Clash of the Titans got lost in the marketing shuffle, but its artisanal effects have outlasted digital trends. The model work doesn't just hold up, it elevates the film, preserving a sense of mythic wonder that modern CGI rarely captures. Number 2, Red Scorpion detonates the line between 1980s action spectacle and geopolitical powder keg. Dolph Lundgren's Soviet hitman isn't just muscle. He's a man on the verge of a moral breakdown, battered into new beliefs by the Bushmen who save him from his own side. The film's authenticity runs deeper than the desert sand. Ragopstan, a 95-year-old tribal leader, brought his entire community into the shoot, turning what could have been a throwaway subplot into a rare window on indigenous culture. But what really shadows Red Scorpion is the story behind the camera. Bankrolled by South African military intelligence via a Jack Abramoff-led front, the production steered tanks and hardware straight from apartheid-era arsenals onto the Namibian set. When the truth broke in the mid-90s, studios scrambled, activists called for boycotts, and distribution deals evaporated. Yet even with its reputation scorched by scandal, the film holds up. Raw stunts, bruising action, and a lead who actually changes. It's a Cold War relic that refuses to fade quietly. And finally, in first place, Streets of Fire cranks the volume and dials up the neon until the whole city feels like a stage set for a rock opera. Walter Hill's self-described rock and roll fable doesn't just lean on its soundtrack, it lives and breathes by it. Every fistfight is choreographed like a music video, and every street glows with perpetual midnight, as if the sun never quite made it past the skyline. Diane Lane's Ellen Aim belts out Nowhere Fast and Tonight is What It Means to Be Young, but it's Dan Hartman's I Can Dream About You that broke out, climbing the Billboard charts and cementing the film's legacy as a musical time capsule. Production designer John Vallone built a world where 1950s hot rods and 1980s synths collide, giving the film a look that's impossible to pin to any one era. Genre confusion kept audiences away. Was it an action movie, a musical, a comic book fever dream? But that refusal to pick a lane is exactly why it holds up. The style, the songs, the mythic love story, they all fuse into something that feels both retro and ahead of its time. Streets of Fire isn't just a forgotten 80s movie. It's a blueprint for how music and design can make a film timeless. From the punk western oddity of Dudes at number 10 to the neon myth-making of Streets of Fire at the top, this countdown has uncovered 10 forgotten 80s movies that still stand strong today. The most shocking entries, like Red Scorpion's apartheid-era funding scandal or Clash of the Titans' enduring creature effects, prove that a film's legacy isn't always about box office or mainstream fame. Across all 10 picks, the common thread is authenticity, whether it's raw acting in Bad Boys, practical stunts in Blue Thunder, or a soundtrack that still rocks decades later. What made these films qualify? Each blends unique style, craft, or social relevance with staying power that outlasted their initial obscurity. This list reveals that the 80s were more than blockbusters. They were a playground for risky ideas, genre mashups, and bold filmmaking. Rediscovering these titles shows that innovation and craft can make even the most overlooked movies timeless. Proof that sometimes cinematic gems shine brightest just out of the spotlight.